Hi, you guys. Thank you so much for joining me today. My name is Lily, and I'm so happy that you are here with me today. In today's video, we are literally going to take trash and turn it into treasure. If you are anything like me, I'm sure you have a collection of junk mail envelopes somewhere in your stash, and it just keeps growing and growing, and you get to the point where it starts overflowing. Well, that's where I was. There was a brief moment where I didn't have any junk mail envelopes whatsoever. And thanks to my generous subscribers, my sister, and my parents and my family who also collect junk mail envelopes for me, and then I collect them as well, I have grown my stash. It was a lot more than this, you guys. It was overflowing. I had a stack of junk mail envelopes even on top of this bag. Look at all those. I've made a whole bunch of new items or new projects with these, and that is what I am going to share with you today. I'm going to put this down and show you the project that we are going to work on today. I have been creating with, I know I get sidetracked, you guys, but I have been working with junk mail envelopes for several years now, years and years and years, and it is one of the best things, or one of my most favorite things that I like working with, because I feel good about repurposing junk, and I can, take trash or things that are destined for the trash and turn them into beautiful, beautiful projects. So I'm going to set this down, and I'm going to show you what we are going to do, and not just make things, but also show you what my process is when it comes to creating a bunch of things at once, like mass making or working a production line style. Do you know what I mean? So because I have so many junk mail envelopes, I have set up a little system to help me go through them quickly and efficiently, you guys. So let me just show you really quick what we are going to work on today. I'll bring it up one by one. Okay, so y'all are familiar with the pockets that I like to work with, and these are great as floating pockets in the junk journals, or you can also use them and attach them to your junk journal pages, and you can always put a tag in there. And I love the window junk mail envelopes because it has a little pocket there and you can kind of see through. These are my favorite. I'm going to show you how I got this technique here. I'm going to show you the technique I used to embellish the front of this. And then a different style of envelope that I also like to work with are tuck spots. And I don't think I've talked about these too much, but these are also fun. And sometimes you get the really giant junk mail envelopes. Look at the difference here. So you can see how this one, well, I'll show you once I flip over the camera. You'll be able to see the difference in size, but these are much smaller. And then you get these really huge junk mail envelopes, and this is trimmed down. It was maybe an inch and a half wider, so I use these as tuck spots. So you can tuck on the side and you can tuck on the back. I like using this style on the front and the back covers, the inside covers of the junk journals. So this is what we're also going to work on today. And so I made a few. I know the lighting is kind of tricky, so I hope you're able to see it here, but that's okay, because when I flip the camera over and we go through the process, you'll be able to get a close-up of what these look like. But look at how beautiful this is. And look at this one. Oh, look at this one as well. So I made several. I've made several off camera, you guys, so that I could show you what they look like, and then we can start creating. I go through several of the junk mail envelopes, and I begin by separating and sorting, because not all junk mail envelopes are alike. And so I have 4 different style of pockets that I like to create with the junk mail envelopes. I'm going to show you how, or what my sorting process looks like. Today, though, we're only going to focus on, oh, here's another one. Look at how cute this one is. We're only going to focus on this 2 style. However, I am going to show you the 2 other style of envelopes or pockets that I like to work with using junk mail envelopes. Hope all of that makes sense. I know it's a lot of stuff, but we're going to have fun. It is super inexpensive, which I love. I love because, junk mail, it's literally delivered to you. I'm going to show you how to open up your mail so that you can get the most out of a junk mail envelope. So lots of great tips also on how to use your junk mail envelopes and how to maximize and how you can see the potential from a simple junk mail envelope. So don't go away. I'm going to flip the camera over and we are going to get started. Yes!
Okay, so the very first thing that we are going to do is gather all of your envelopes. And I have a lot, so I need to work in small batches. And I am going to begin by sorting these out. The junk mail envelopes with the windows, I know exactly what I'm going to use those for. And these are the ones that I like to use to make pockets. And so I trim about 2 inches above the window. And I have other videos where I've shown you my process in the past. And I will link a playlist to all of the junk mail envelopes down below and also at the end of the video. So you could see just, every time that I create a video, I may change it up a little bit. My style evolves and I may use different techniques. So even though I've worked on these in the past, the process slowly evolves and sometimes it just gets really, really easy. Now I use either my scissors to cut across, but if you are looking to make a straighter line and you don't want to eyeball it with your scissors, then use your paper cutter. And I like to trim, like I said, about 1 or 2 inches above the window. And once I start sorting, the ones that don't have the window, like that yellow one that I just set down, those I like to use for different types of pockets. Those I like to make my little house envelope pockets. And if you haven't seen those videos, it is in the playlist, you guys. There are so many little house envelope pockets that I make from these junk mail envelopes. And they are just so stinking cute. They are little houses. I also have casitas, which means little house. So that's what I use, the plain non-window junk mail envelopes. And now, as I'm going through my stash, or my little bundle or stack, I'm setting and sorting things aside. Now this one, I don't normally make pockets out of these, but I thought I would give it a try. I don't know if I get to it in this video. I can't remember, but I just cut it down a little bit. And these right here are the ones that I do not make window. Well, duh, it doesn't have a window. I don't make a pocket for these. I make a little house, and you can see how I fold it over and that becomes the roof line. I am not going to make a little house pocket in this video, but I do have a ton of videos where I show you in depth, you guys, how to make little house envelope pockets and or casitas, and I will have all of those linked in the description area below. And these are fun too. The colored ones are perfect also for making little houses. And all you need to do is collage over the front and the back, and you turn them into little houses, and they are so stinking cute. Right now I'm sorting through because I'm looking for a different style to show you the 4 different types of pockets that I make. And this one right here is a different type of pocket. And I'm just kind of sorting through. I'm not going to go through each and every one of these envelopes and cut them all, but I want to give you an idea as to how I go through the stash and start separating for the different style of pockets that I'm decorating. This one here is a pocket that I create as an insert in the signatures. So I fold these in half, especially when they have a window that is the length of the envelope. And I like to fold it either way. You can have the window on the outside or the window on the inside. It doesn't matter because it's going to be sewn into the actual signature. So I just crease it, and it now becomes a double pocket, which is sewn into the signature. And for these, I just trim a sliver off of the top so that it makes the pocket. So now you have vertical pockets. And I know I have an opening on that left-hand side, but I'll probably end up stitching it. So I don't work on this style today either, but I do have a video where I show you in depth how I work on this style of pocket. So it's 4 different kinds of pockets that you can create from all the different kinds of envelopes. And like I said a moment ago, not all junk mail envelopes are created equal. And so as you're sorting, as you're going through each and every junk mail envelope, you start creating different piles. Some are going to be pockets, others little houses, maybe some are going to be signature inserts, and then we have a 4th style, which is a tuck spot, and I'll show you that one in just a moment. So once I have my little stacks going, I go through them, inspect them, and seal them if they are not sealed, and some of them may even have a double opening because of the way they were cut. And so I set those aside as well because I know I have to run them through the sewing machine to close up one of the ends. You don't have to use a sewing machine if you don't want to. I have a sewing machine in my craft area and it's easy for me to get to and use the sewing machine instead of using glue or even washi tape, which you can also do to seal one of the ends. The next step when I'm working on these little pockets with the window is I trim the top corners and I fold one of the flaps out. And that is now taking shape as to the style of pocket which we are going to create. And I just go through all of them. I will sit down and I will listen to my music and I will go through as many as I can. Sometimes I give myself some time. Let's see how many I can work with in the next 30 minutes if I have some free time. I'm going to do 30 minutes, or I'm going to give myself an hour to go through as many junk mail envelopes as I can. And it doesn't mean I'm going to work on them from start to finish. What I'm doing is I am getting them ready. So when I have more time to then embellish the envelopes, most of the work has already been done. They've already been cut down and they are just ready to be decorated. So I just quickly trim those corners off. Notice how I'm not really measuring. I am eyeballing and I get pretty close to them being even, you guys. And then if I see that some envelopes are a little bit too tall, then I just trim it down a little bit more. But right now I'm just cutting those corners and getting ready for the next step. And this is how I work in production style. So there are, different steps. And I think if you focus on step 1, which is sorting your envelopes, that is such an achievement in itself because you've now taken them out of your collection box and you have now gone through step 1. And then step 2 is maybe trimming them down, sorting them into the different style pockets that you are going to do. Step 3, you start trimming them down depending on what you are going to create. And then the final step is the embellishing, which is so much fun. And I'm going to show you all the different steps too. Okay, I told you I had a tip for you as to how to open your junk mail when you first receive it. And this will help you so that you can get the most use of your envelope. Always open your junk mail by taking your scissors and opening it on either the left or the right hand side. And this makes it so that you easily take out the contents of it, and now you've got that entire envelope that you can use. You don't know when you first open, maybe when you first open your mail, you don't know what you're going to use it for, but this gives you a lot more use. You'll get more use out of it. Don't use your letter opener and tear open the top the way we used to back in the olden days, because you're going to get a jagged cut, and then you're not going to be able to use it to make pockets. You'll have to then repair it with glue or washi or run it through the sewing machine. So save yourself that extra step and don't use your letter opener and just, cut across the top, because, trimming it on the left or the right hand side with a pair of scissors, believe me, you'll thank me because you'll get more use out of it. So now I'm taking my little stack, which I have already cut down, and I am just going to fold it over. And they are now, do you see how easy this is to just fold it over? And once you've done all of that, once you fold it over that little flap, and notice when I was telling you that I kind of eyeball when I cut those corners off, and then when you fold over the flap, you kind of, it levels out, so it's not It's not so wonky. I'm sure if you inspect it closely, maybe it's not even 100%, but it's pretty dang close, you guys. So here is my little stack that I also already did off camera. And I believe I gave myself like 30 minutes to try to go through as many window envelopes. And I sorted and I created different piles, and I focused on the window envelopes alone because I was going to get through as many window envelopes as I possibly could. This is the other style of pocket that I like to make, and these are the giant junk mail envelopes that I get. And there's even some that are even larger and maybe not so rectangular. Some of them are actually kind of square, and they're pretty big. Sometimes they're like 6 by 8, pretty big envelope. Notice the difference in size. That one on the right-hand side is ginormous. And I like to make tuck spots out of these. And see how this one is jagged? I did not open that envelope, you guys. That was not me, but that's okay. I will take it and I will salvage it, because remember, like I've always said in the past, if you've got glue, you've got scissors, we can repair anything. And that's exactly what I'm going to do. So just because it's jagged doesn't mean I'm throwing it away. I'm going to trim it down, and it's going to turn into a beautiful little tuck spot. And so with these, again, because they have that very large window, I just trim right across about 1 or 2 inches above the window. And then I am going to cut at an angle towards the side I am going to leave open. And now normally I would leave it as it is, but because it has that torn edge, I'm just going to trim that off a little bit. Plus, I don't want them to be too wide. My journals tend to be about 8.5 by 6 inches wide. And so I don't want my envelope to be more than 5 inches wide. So anything 5 inches and under will be perfect, because these tuck spots are the ones I like to use on the inside covers of my junk journals. So I'm trimming a little bit more off the top. And then I even took it one step farther and farther, and I rounded out the corners a little bit. This is completely optional. It's all up to you and your aesthetic. Some of them I have left with the sharp corners, and then others, sometimes I just round off the corners like I am with your scissors. Just very carefully round it. And it gives it a very nice and, I don't know, I like the way it looks a little bit better. But either way, they are going to be tuck spots. And then I like to stitch. So you can see the one on the right-hand side, I've already taken it to the machine. So I'm going to do that to all of those that I'm going to use as tuck spots, and just run a nice little zigzag stitch on one of the sides, the one that is obviously not open, and then of course at the bottom. And now the next step here is, I forgot to mention this in the intro, but not only are we using junk mail envelopes, but we are going to use book pages, because I also have hordes and hordes of book pages, you guys, and I also sort those. So I totally forgot to mention that early on. So I go through my book pages, and as I do that, do you see the ones that have all that blank space? I set those aside for other projects, because that is valuable real estate right there. And I usually fold them in half, and I turn these into journaling cards. So any of the pages that have that blank spot, fold them in half, and I set them aside. And before the end of the video, I'm actually going to show you, I'm going to bring out some of the journaling cards and tags that I create from this type of page. And that one I just set aside because it says Christmas. And right now I am about to start working on nothing but Christmas from now until December. I'm so excited about that. But I also have all of these other ideas that I want to share with you as well. So now I finished thumbing through the other book pages, and these are the ones that I am going to use to line the inside of the pockets. In previous videos, you've seen how I do this, but I use digitals, and I've also used scrapbooking paper. But for this only, I'm trying to use up as much junky junk as I possibly can, things that I know that we tend to collect and hoard. Book pages is one of them, because I like to alter books, and sometimes I have excess book pages that are left over. And then of course the envelopes that seem to be growing, you just sprinkle a little, they're like gremlins. You sprinkle a little bit of water and they multiply. I don't mind, you guys, because I work with these a lot. And do you remember in that one video where I mentioned that I was completely out of junk mail envelopes? And that day I was waiting for the mailman so that I could have a junk mail envelope to use. Now I have number 10 size envelopes that I have purchased at thrift stores, but there's something about a junk mail envelope, you guys, that I just, you know, I love getting and repurposing. So notice how I trimmed down the book page using my ruler. For this, using a ruler or a hard edge, whatever you may have, is super easy, and it makes it so that you don't have to use your paper trimmer or your scissors, because it tears very easily with the ruler. And I trimmed it down just a snippet, just a tiny bit smaller than the width of the envelope. And so I used the envelope as a guide, and then I just tore just a little bit under that width so that it fits nicely into the pocket. And then I glue it down, and I don't use a lot of glue because instead of tearing that top flap, I just folded it over and used that and then glued that down. But because this one is a tuck, I did have to glue it down on the side. And now I'm just cleaning it up. This is the one that was a little bit jagged. So I am just cleaning up the sides. Super easy, you guys. So if you have a ton of book pages and you just can't use them up fast enough and your collection keeps growing and growing, doing this, using up all of your envelopes and using up all of those pages, and combined you have created a little masterpiece. So see how I'm using the envelope as a guide, and it's just a little bit shy of the width of the actual envelope, and then it just tears so easily against the edge of that ruler. That bottom I kind of lifted too soon, and so I'm just going to trim that bottom so that it fits neatly into that pocket. As I was looking back at this video when I was editing, I had another idea to decorate that book page through that window, and I wish I would have thought of it while I was doing this, but the idea was take a stamp. Maybe a botanical stamp or a flower, and stamp it over the book page, the part that is visible through the window. I've actually already made a few like that. I just wish I would have done it for this video, but you'll see it in future videos. And by the way, speaking of future videos, did you know that there is, I want to say about 68% of you that are here watching me today are not subscribed to my channel? I am so grateful that you have stumbled across my channel, because I get a lot of those comments where, oh my gosh, I just found your channel, and I welcome you with open arms, and I thank you for taking the time and spending it watching my videos. But 68% of you are not subscribed, and if you are here, I hope you are enjoying this content. This is how I like to work. I like to repurpose junky things and make beautiful things out of it. And so I invite you to subscribe, you guys. Subscribe to my channel so that you don't miss out on future videos and future content. Okay, I'm pointing out here that I am taking more of that book page. All of those little bits and pieces that were left over that I was trimming off, I save those because I am going to take those little bits and pieces and I am going to cover up some of that print that's on the front of the envelopes. I am not going to collage the entire envelope. I used to do that, but I don't do that anymore. It is not necessary. So I'm only going to take a little bit of the bits and pieces of book page or book paper, and I'm just going to cover up a little bit of that print. And the reason is I don't know what the future holds for these little pockets, because the whole purpose of this video is to get you to get through steps 1 and 2 and have these envelopes at the ready, so that when you are ready to embellish them with paint, texture paste, die cuts, drawings, little clusters, buttons, florals, fabric pieces, whatever it is that the future, I can't even talk. whatever your plans are in the future for these, they will be ready so that you can just grab them. They already have the lining on the inside. They've got the book page collaged on the outside, and they're ready for embellishment. So create as many of these as you can or as you want. And then when you are working on a project, let's say you're working on a Christmas project, well, you already have them. You can just reach them, add a Christmas tree to embellish, a little Santa, maybe some reindeer, maybe some poinsettias, and you can give it a theme. If you are working on summer projects or fall projects or birthday or spring, the base is ready to go. And then when you start creating, because I created masses, you guys. So if I have all of my little spring ephemera out, then I'm going to make a whole bunch that are going to be spring theme. And then maybe I'm working on a whole bunch that are summer theme. So I'm going to do that. And then because I'm getting ready to work on Christmas, I'm going to be taking a lot of these that are like what you see on the screen right now, ready to be embellished. And I'm going to make a whole bunch for Christmas, for the holidays. So that's the whole point of this video, is to get through the first few steps and set them aside. So when you finally decide that you are going to work on a pocket envelope, you don't have to start from scratch because you've already established a little collection that are ready for embellishment, right? Because let's say, what if you finish them all and you made them all green? But what if you're working on, like, I don't know, a yellow journal, and maybe that shade of green just doesn't go with your yellow journal, but now you have to start from scratch to create yellow themed ones. Am I making sense? I hope you understand what I'm trying to say. So yeah, so get to these first steps right here and worry about the embellishment later. Worry about that once you get to that final project. So see how I'm just folding over the top of the page? You don't need to use glue on the inside of the pocket because you're folding it over and it's going to stay in place. That book page is not going anywhere. You could, if you want to, trim the top, but it is so much easier to just fold it over and glue it down. It's just so much easier, you guys. Plus, it reinforces that top flap too. If you are going to use these as a floating pocket, then you may want to finish collaging the back. But I typically glue these down and use it as a pocket on junk journal pages. I may also just glue it down on one of the sides and the bottom and also use it as a pocket and a tuck spot. And I know you've seen that in a lot of my junk journals on how I do that. These are fun for putting, you can put pictures in these pockets. You can also use tags. I like to embellish guest checks and tuck the guest check, the embellished guest check, into these pockets. And it's really cute because you can see the contents through the window, and that's why I love these window envelopes, because you can peek inside. So yeah, and you guys, I will show you in a future video what they look like with the stamped image inside. So stinking cute. So subscribe so you don't miss it. So you don't miss that. You guys, I am getting ready to work on more Christmas and holiday projects. But right now, it's still summer. It's still summer. A lot of people are getting ready for fall. I'm not ready for fall yet, you guys. Fall does not start until, when does fall start? I think it's September 22nd of this year. So guess what? It is summer all the way through September 21st. And it's hot. So if you're already thinking pumpkin latte, stop, because I'm still, thinking margaritas. It's summertime. Okay, I don't drink margaritas, but it's summertime. I like the margarita every once in a while, but I'm training, you guys. I'm training for a half marathon, so no soda, no alcohol, because I want to be able to finish my half a marathon. It'll be my first one, October 28th, so I'm just preparing for it. Okay, I'm showing you here what I did. I took these to the machine. This one right here had the bottom was open, and that's because of the way I cut it when I first opened it. So all I did is I ran a zigzag stitch across the bottom, and then I also took that one that was jagged and also ran a zigzag stitch to make a tuck spot. Okay, we are now going to move forward, and I'm going to show you how I embellish, all the different little techniques that you could use to embellish your junk mail pockets. This could be a step in the future. So once you get to this step right here, you could stop. And then in the future, now that you have all of these built in your stash, you say to yourself, I think I want to do some stenciling with some texture paste on these. And then you can leave it at that. And then you don't have to finish embellishing, but you can add some texture paste and then continue to embellish on top of that in the future. So establish your foundations so that they are always at the ready for you to further embellish. Okay, so I am taking my most favorite stencil, and this is a stencil, I believe it is from Wendy Vecchi, and Wendy Vecchi is a designer for Ranger products. If you're interested in any of the supplies that I am using today, from the adhesives to the stencils and some of the tools that I use, I do have an Amazon affiliate link down below, you guys, where you can see more about the products that I use. I do have to let you know that if you do make a purchase from my Amazon affiliate link, I do earn a small commission. If you just want to hop on over there and take a look to see where these items or more about these items, you can always click on that link down below, and I thank you in advance if you do make a purchase. Look at how beautiful this brick stencil is. It is my go-to stencil. I don't have a lot of stencils, you guys. I have a few, but it seems that this one is my go-to, and I have been using it for years. And I don't only use texture paste with it. I also like to use paint, and sometimes the paint will seep underneath, but that doesn't bother me at all. And I'll show you one of these pockets. I used coral colored paint with this stencil, and I just love the way that turned out. But I have this old Heidi Swapp texture paste. It is out of fabrication, but any texture paste will do. And this one, I've had this one for a really long time, and I'm just so happy that it's not hardened up on me. But I'm trying to use old supplies in most of my projects, because some of this stuff has gotten old. I think I've shown you in the past that some of my texture pastes have turned to rock, and then some of my glues have solidified. And so I don't like things going to waste. And I think because there was a time where I was just hoarding supplies. I thought I had more time than I actually do. There are only 24 hours in the day. There's only so much I can do in one day. And I wasn't creating fast enough to go through all of my supplies. So I was really bummed, you guys, when I had to get rid of washi tape because it just wouldn't even separate anymore. And also glue sticks and white glue, texture paste. Oh, it was a sad day. Sad day. So we're using up junk, and we're using up old supplies. So go through all of those things that you haven't used in a while, and let's make pretty things. And so you could see that one at the bottom. I did use texture paste off of camera. These I'm going to set aside and let them dry. I typically let things like this dry overnight. So I don't finish these today on camera, but you'll see them in future projects. But these are some that I had already applied texture paste to a few days before. And there's that other stencil that I also like to use. It's like a clock. I like it, but I don't use it very often. Okay, you guys, and this is one of the final steps, and that is the embellishing part. And this is really the funnest part, when you get to add all of the cute things on top. See how that one looks, the coral paint with the stencil. Oh my gosh, that coral paint is my favorite. This one's fun right here. So when I was looking at these and trying to figure out how I was going to embellish, I really wanted to try and use up more junky junk than actual die cuts and things like that. But I'm going to show you how I worked with both of them. So if you have die cuts like I do, these are die cuts that I think a lot of these are from Paper Studio, which is a brand that you'll find at Hobby Lobby. And so I just put them all in this gallon-sized Ziploc bag. And so I pulled out a few florals to glue over the stenciled part. And these are pretty giant. And so I had to use it on that large tuck spot because, well, it was actually perfect. The size, the dimensions worked well with that larger pocket. So cute. But I also wanted to stay true to the junk. And I went through some little junky bits. And so one of the other things that I like to do is go through my paper scraps, and I'll sit down. Again, I'll give myself maybe 30 minutes, 45 minutes to see how many little clusters I can make. And this is what I like to do. I'll take little strips of paper scraps, about 3 layers, and then just staple it. And that is it. That is step number 1. Use up your paper scraps, staple them together in 3s, and you want to use little paper scraps that are coordinating, and that's it. You can see most of these are just 3 little pieces of paper scraps that have been stapled together, and then others I've also just ran through the sewing machine with a little zigzaggedy stitch. And that is what lives in this little acrylic drawer. So I am going to take one of the little paper scrap clusters and I'm going to decorate one of the pockets. Super easy, you guys. So not only are we using up our ginormous stash of junk mail envelopes and also our ginormous stash of book pages, but now we also get to use all of those little bits and pieces of paper scraps. This is how we work with our stash and paper scraps. And then I'm just going to glue it down. I know I'm really generous when it comes to glue. Sometimes I use too much glue. But this glue, called the Ultimate Glue, I really like it because it will glue onto glass, metal, paper, and I wanted to use a strong adhesive that will stay put over that, over the texture paste. And I'm taking one of my favorite Tim Holtz inks, and this one is called Antique Linen. It is my new favorite to distress all around the edges because it's not too brown. I don't want it to be too dark. I just wanted to give it almost like a very slight look of aging. And so this Antique Linen is perfect for that. And so I just go lightly over the edges. So all of these items that I use outside of the junky junk, I have linked in my Amazon affiliate link down below. Isn't that beautiful? And you could leave it like that. This is another idea where you can add your little paper scraps and then leave it for future use. But if you have an idea for it right then and there, then keep embellishing. But you don't have to finish it until you have it ready for your final project. So I pulled out some of my little words because I love adding words to everything that I make. And I'm taking some of these little chat words from Tim Holtz. And these are longer and I like to scatter them. So cutting up your little word phrases or your sentiments is always a good idea. I like the way it looks when they're scattered like that on the front. And that's it. I'm just taking those little words. I'm adding some glue to them because I want to make sure that they stay put for a long time. I could leave it like this and walk away, but it needed a little bit something more. And so I thought I had some butterflies in here. And when I actually reached for these 2 little bits, I thought they were butterflies, but it turned out even better. two little cute little roses, and I'm going to use both of them, and I'm just going to glue them to the front of that pocket. But you could add butterflies. You can even add dimensional flowers. You can add fabric. You can add bits and pieces from snippet rolls that you've used using paper only or little bits of fabric. This is where it gets fun, and you can get as creative as you like, but you don't have to finish it. You don't have, and I know you guys, I'm so repetitive, but once you start on these, you don't have to finish them at the same time. You can, again, just build your foundations, and then once you are working on a junk journal that has a certain theme, that's when you can then reach for your pockets that you've already started and complete with the embellishing. Aren't these so stinking cute, you guys? Oh, I love how each and every one of these turned out. And now I have all of these in my stash ready to go for the future. I've got my little stack of plain ones that still need the book pages. I've got the ones with the book pages, and I have the ones with the stenciling on them. And that is the whole reason I'm doing this video for you. So that you could see what my process is like, my thought process, the way I mass produce all of these, because I plan on working on a ton of more junk journals, and so I need these for the future. Oh yeah, I'm going to show you how I use these plain book pages to make little journaling cards. Now, I'm moving my room around, and so I came across a Christmas journal from 2021, and this will give you a perfect example as to how I use these papers to make tags and also to make little journaling cards. So I use a template and cut around the pages. There are 4 layers of book pages for these. So I'll use a printed one in between the plain one and then cut around it, and then I'll stitch around that tag. And I love how it feels. It's almost like a little pillow. It feels so, so good, you guys. And then I embellish the front of the tag, and then the back, I use it for journaling. Isn't that cute? And then this one right here is, oh, I love these little grumpy cats from Tim Holtz. And again, I decorate the front, and then the back is used for journaling. So that's why I reserve the blank book pages, specifically for tags and for journaling cards. If you would like to see a flip through of this Christmas 2021 flip through or video, I will have that video link down below. It is a fun Christmas junk journal to go through with so many ideas. And then you can also get a glimpse into how I do my personal journaling. That'll be linked down below. Okay, you guys, I appreciate you guys being here, but don't go away. I'm going to flip the camera over.
You guys, thank you so much for being here and watching my video. I think this was my favorite one out of all of them, even though I love them all. But the reason I think this one is my most favorite is because I was able to use a lot of junk and a lot of leftover bits and pieces from my stash to create one of these. And so, like I mentioned earlier, these are great, inexpensive little projects for you to make with a lot of the items that you probably have at home. So I appreciate you being here. Because of you, we are over 7,000 subscribers. I am so happy. I'm trying to get to 10,000 before the end of the year, and I know I can get there with your help. All I need from you is to like, comment, and of course, subscribe to my channel. And if you share it with your friends and family, that would be even more awesome. Help me get to 10,000 before the end of the year. You guys are awesome. I appreciate you being here, and I will see you next time. Bye.